big boulabas here at the White Horse for Mr. Gerry Hussey. Gerry Hussey, you're a hard man to label, I have to say.
Great.
We've kind of talked about you a wee bit in the build-up to this as a performance psychologist, but how would you represent yourself in words, if you could?
Well, I mean, my dad still asks me, what is it that you do? And the truth is, the easiest way I can put it is, I talk to people, and very often I just sit down at a very small table like these and drink cups of tea for a long time with people. And people say, what do you talk about? I talk with real people about real things. So that's really my job. It's to meet people at where they're at, form some sense of rapport with them, and talk about human things that affect human beings.
What does the typical week look like in the life of Gerry Hussey now, or even broaden it to month if you need to include the kind of things that you tend to be doing?
Yeah, well, they can depend. I mean, ultimately, every day is about me having a conversation with a human being about human things. That human being might be a professional athlete, they might be a CEO, they might be an individual, there could be anybody. And what we're talking about could be anything from, you know, how to perform at the highest levels in sport, to how to deal with, you know, a miscarriage, a 15-year-old son that's committed suicide. It could be anything. So my job is literally to try and create a space where human beings can be most human, most open, most vulnerable. And my job is not about having any form of technique or coaching, or my job is simply to try to hold a space where people can be human and people can get to the bottom of what it is they feel and what it is they need to say and what it is they need to do. Because I believe, in quite like Ed, you know, that people at their heart, if they're silent enough and are willing to sit in the right space for long enough, they'll know what they need to say, they know what they need to do. So for me, it's just about creating that space with people. And it could be, you know, you could be with a professional sports team for a few days and you might come back from that and you might be with a business team and you might be with an individual. So, you know, the context changes quite a lot, and no 2 days of contextually are different. But the context is always the same. It's about me having a conversation with a human being about human things.
When you represented that initially, what came up for me was, Christ, that's hard. You know, having those kind of hard conversations. How have you evolved, let's say, to manage that in a way that keeps you going?
I think it's evolved, and it's also, I've stayed anchored, because, you know, when you sit in front of a human being, you can easily be, you know, mesmerized or intimidated by the role or the amount of medals they've won or something you've read in the media. But for me, I've learned, I suppose, growing up in a very small farm with 8 kids, and, you know, people are people. And people talk about this fast-paced world, and we've changed so much, and, you know, the millennials and the needs of society are changing, and everything is so different. You know, but is it like? So think about the people in this room. How many people in this room would like to wake up in the morning and feel calm and happy? How many people in this room would like to go through their day and, through the ups and downs, generally live their life in a state of being relatively happy and confident? How many people would like to go to bed at night time and your last thought at night time, or your last feeling, is gratitude? How many people would like to meet someone very special and fall in love? How many people would like to meet someone that you could share your hopes and dreams with? And how many people would like to be able to look in the mirror and love the person you see? Now, if I asked everybody to put their hand up, probably every hand would go up. And if we sat here 10,000 years ago, or 100,000 years ago, the answer would be the same. We tell ourselves, and, you know, go back to Ed, you know, our life is nothing more than an extension of our beliefs. We communicate our beliefs through our words all the time. Self-fulfilling prophecies. It's a very fast-paced world. Fast-paced, it's not actually. It's 60 seconds in a minute. And that has never changed. Time is moving so fast. No, it doesn't. So we have to try to get back to basics. And we listen to the stories, and a lot of the stories are sold to us by people who have an agendas. Headache tablets, now work 3 times faster. Because the ad says, because life doesn't stop, you can't also. We talked about how important sleep is, how important silence is. And you have an ad saying, because life doesn't stop, you can't also. Are you joking me? We live in this fast-paced, aggressive world. Walk up Strickeen in Kerry,
right.
and stand on top of the mountain and look around. That'll defy your belief that we live in an aggressive world. Go into a hospice. That'll tell you about the amount of love that's in this world. So people will tell you stories about the world, but it's up to you, it's up to us as individuals to find out what we believe about the world. And then we listen to the words we use, because the words we use becomes the house we live in. What's the story I'm repeating to myself? That becomes the house that I live in. And so for me, that's what it is about sometimes. It's about deconstructing the belief that somebody has. I'll never get through this, Gerry. My life has ended. There's no way out. And at that time, that is their belief. And it's not about real and imaginary, because if it's in your heart, it's real. And I sit with people who sometimes that we're having the conversation, but they're telling me about the person that's sitting there. And there is no person there. But they absolutely believe there is. And we all live in some form of constructed reality, because there is no objective reality. In order for me to understand something, it has to go into my brain, and my brain has to try mix it with my beliefs and my past experiences, and then I project it through words and imaginations. So in some ways, all of our reality is constructed through our beliefs and expectations. And it's supported by the stories we tell ourselves. So when someone says there's somebody sitting here, my job is to believe that. I have to get into that belief, and then through that belief I can, as I was saying, I can empower them through questions to come to a different belief. But it's not to dismiss it or deny it. And same when someone says there's no way out of this. Or when a boxer walks back in the Olympic final and they're after being beaten from one end of the ring to the other in the first round. Billy Walsh has to be able to, in 50 seconds, deconstruct that belief and say, you absolutely are good enough. And you absolutely have the potential to go out there and turn this fight around. And I absolutely believe you're going to do it. And then your belief becomes their belief. So that's, in essence, the job I do. It's sitting with people, deconstructing beliefs, listening to what their beliefs are, and listening, what's the reality that this person is living in? Is it serving them or holding them back? What's the world, or the parameters of the world, of the cardboard box I call? What's the cardboard box that they've created, that they think is the world? And what if I could deconstruct that for them? What would the world look like then?
Gerry made a reference there to climbing a mountain. So a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to spend a few days with Gerry, and I was part of a small group that climbed this mountain in Kerry, and he's dead right. He's dead right what he said. When you got up there, there's no, not that we had phones with us or whatever, but there was no sense of I have to, or anything. All that beliefs were there to be formed. I'm fascinated though, Gerry, as to how you maintain your own, call it, useful belief system that sustains you through the work. How you ensure that you're bringing the best out of yourself. How do you do that?
I think, for me, it's about, you have to have a fundamental foundational belief. That can move and evolve also. And some people say, you need to find out who you are. But there's a better question than that. Find out what the universe is. Because we all belong to the universe. Whatever created the universe created us. The universe, the trees, the stars, the cosmos, energy. We're all energy. It's the same energy. It's the same breath. When we breathe in, it's the same exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide as everything else. So we're not beings in nature. We're not beings in the universe. We are the universe with the same capacity. So think of a star that exploded 90 million years ago, and you look at it tonight, and it's still evolving, changing, We have that ability to evolve and change all the time. And then the question is, whom is the universe? And we live in a world where there's so much anxiety and so much stress. And what is anxiety? Anxiety is an unresolved fear. And fear and belief, what's the belief you hold about the world that makes you so anxious? What's the belief you hold about yourself? So we believe that we live in either this fast-paced, ruthless world where bad things can happen, and if we believe that, we're always going to be fearful and anxiety, and we will spend the rest of our life trying to avoid the pain. But if you look at the universe, and you look at the rhythm and the flow, and the fact that planets don't crash into each other, and the cycles of nature, and flowers that open, you suddenly realize there's something that has a beautiful rhythm and a beautiful cycle in nature. And while nothing stays the same, everything is changing. But that's okay. Because there's a cycle to everything. And there's a cycle to our life. And our life, believe it or not, is 900 months. And you sleep 300. You work 300, and you have 300 left. And there's a cycle. Everything that is will come to be no longer. So regularly in life, we have to learn to let go and to be. And sometimes in life, you have to learn to be very comfortable in the space between the no longer and the not yet. And yet we live in a world we talk about plans and 21 plans and vision boards and where you go next week. And we're constantly trying to fill the void, fill the gap, fill the space. Even when we go to the bathroom now, while we're in the bathroom looking into our phones. What's the terrible voice that you're trying to run away from? What's the feeling you feel when you're alone that you're trying to block out? So if we can just get back to, so my fundamental belief is that this universe is a powerful universe. It has an infinite ability to renew itself. So nobody in this room here, and Ed might back me up on this, but I think it's every couple of months our cells generate ourselves. There's probably no one part of your body that is more than 10 years old. And yet we hold on to beliefs and things that we've done in the past that is nothing more than memories. They have actually no relevance to the person you are today. And we either beat ourselves up by those things, or we allow, well, I've never been good at that, so I'm no good at it now. If you're physically a brand new person now, if there's no part of your body that existed 10 years ago, why would you still hold on to the same old beliefs? The ability to surrender and let go. There's a beautiful expression I use with all my clients that says, every lifetime is a day, and every day is a lifetime. Because when I wake up tomorrow, by being here tonight, by driving down from Dublin, by getting a puncture on the way down, by going back up again tonight, by getting into bed tonight with my wife and dreaming and waking up tomorrow morning, I will not be the same person that I'm here tonight. I will know something a little bit more. From PEAQ, I'm already thinking about how I can use that. I've expanded. Just like the star, I've expanded. I'm not the same person that I was when I arrived. So let that person go. And don't worry about the person that I'm meant to be, because who knows who I'm meant to be? Only the universe knows that. My job is to be me now. Be me right here. And be the best of me. Because this is all I can control. And when it's all over, if I try to be the best of me, if I try to let go what I need to let go of and take on what I need to take on, then when it gets to the end and I meet whoever it is that designed this universe, whatever he handed me, I want to be able to hand it back and say, I did my very best with that. And I did it with kindness and integrity and honesty. And every time I tried to make a decision that was based on love and a belief in this great universe. So that's what sustains me. My fundamental belief that everything is transit. The knowledge that we'll have to let everything go. The knowledge that in that then it's okay that I can let the past go. Whatever mistake I've made, learn from it. Now be different. Don't hold yourself accountable to things like, oh, I should be and I could be and I need to be, and just be. We are human beings, not human doings and not human becomings. And with all the high performance athletes I suppose I've worked with, I've only helped them to be in that moment, control that minute, control that second. And when you start to do that, you suddenly realize that a minute can be a lifetime. And people say, oh, time is moving really, really fast. No, it's not.
One of the constructs that I felt when we were walking up mountains in Kerry that I felt you verbalize really eloquently was the polarity of fear and love. This idea of two, whether they're equal and opposite sources, without getting too physicsy on it. Tell me a wee bit more about where that, or how that has become an important construct
for me, you know, as a psychologist, you're trying to assess. So sometimes you watch people's behaviour and you try to make a decision. But then all decisions are driven by thoughts. But it goes deeper. All thoughts are driven by emotions, and all emotions are driven by belief. So as psychologists, you have to get to the level of belief. You know, when you try to talk about behavioural change, or leaders, managers can only manage behaviour. But if you want to, you know, and that's why I love the PE Explore, what's the belief? What's the belief you hold about yourself that is permitting you to eat the way you eat, live the way you live? What's the belief you hold about yourself that's permitting you to tell that story again and again when it's not actually true? So getting to the beliefs, but then the emotions, there's only actually two human emotions, love and fear. Love has spin-offs, compassion, acceptance, non-judgment, non-attachment. And fear has spin-offs, judgment, cynicism, negativity, frustration, anger. And when we talk about people's spirit, mind, body, spirit, what is spirit? Spirit is the energy. What's the energy that I live my life in? So when I'm with people, sometimes I'm not even listening to what they're saying. I'm not even looking at their behaviours. I'm just feeling, I'm sensing what's the energy behind that. And we talked earlier about the pause. A pause is an incredible thing because silence isn't the absence of words. Silence is when an emotion has become stronger than the need for words. And when you listen to people, you sense the energy they have. This person's fear. What's the fear? So for me, you know, very often when you break it all down, people's fear is that I'm not good enough. Where did you learn that? I'm not pretty enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not good enough. We live with this self-critical fear that we're not enough. I'm not who I'm meant to be. Well, who are you meant to be? You're meant to be anybody. You're just meant to be you. And what is love then? Love is the ability to accept who I am. Love is the ability to embrace, I think I want to be a bit better. And in any decision, when you have a big decision to make, ask yourself, you know, what would love do? What would love do right now? It's a great place to go. And when you look at your own life, if I really, really love myself, if I really cared for myself, and I knew that life was 900 months, and if I knew for some of us half them are gone, and I really love myself, what's the decision I'd be willing to make that I'm not making? And for me, that's that love piece. And yet, so many of us live in fear because Sky News, Joe Duffy, we're being bombarded with the world is a negative place, and you better watch out because it's full of corruption. But that's only if you're tuned into one particular station and one particular view. Change your view, walk to the top of a mountain, go to a hospice, physically, mentally, emotionally, get a different perspective. And you'll suddenly realize for every one act of badness, there's a million acts of kindness. So you choose which one you want to plug into. Because whichever one you plug into will consume you and will fill you. And there is an abundance of evil in the world. We know that. But there's an abundance of good. There's an abundance of possible. There's an abundance of people having great conversations about great things, inventing amazing stuff. So you choose which ones you want to plug into.
I'm curious, Gerry, call it even, and challenge my phraseology, but the belief system, the worldview that you've shared with us, how has that evolved for you? Do you think it's an output of the work you've had the privilege to do over the course of 15, 20 years? You know, or is it something that you've kind of let's say, chiseled off. You've kind of removed the bad stuff to reveal what you believe to be true. That was a bit of a screwy metaphor, but
yeah, no, I think it's a couple of things. It's one, when I was 14, I read a book called The History of Philosophy, and I came across René Descartes, French philosopher, and existentialism. And René Descartes says, "I think, therefore I am." And what he means is, I know I think, outside that I don't know. So you look like something to me. You look like you're very confident, you look like you have it together, but then when I get to know you, maybe you're getting completely different. They look like shoes, but they could be slippers. That looks like a glass, but it could be a goldfish bowl. So René Descartes says, objective reality doesn't exist. Our interpretations are what exist. They give me. So he says, you question. So I took that on and I started to imagine, well, what is actually? So when people say it is that way, so this room is very warm, but if you just came out of a sauna, it's not actually. Outside is very cold, but if you just came from Iceland, it's not actually. I'm very poor, but if I go to Africa, I'm not actually. So, you take this and, well, is there ultimately an act that's objectively bad? And there might be a few, but even murder. You can say, well, like, murder is objectively bad. So what is murder? It's taking an innocent life. So how about an American pilot that flies over Iraq, press a button, kills 300 kids in school? Is he murderer? How about someone breaks into your house and you wake up in the middle and in order to protect your child, you hit them and they die? Are you intrinsically evil? So everything's contextualized. So what's the context? And then you suddenly realize there is no objective, so it's subjective. And then from that I read another book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And that's mind-blowing. And if people read that book, this guy survived a concentration camp. And he suddenly realized when he'd lost his wife and his child, and in the misery of everything, he suddenly dawned on him, what these people are trying to do, they're not trying to kill a couple hundred Jews. What they're trying to do is kill the Jewish spirit. But the spirit is infinite. So they can kill the physical body of multiple Jews. But the Jewish spirit lives out there. So actually, no matter what they do, they can't win. And he just woke up and said, they can't win. And every day a Jewish or a Nazi soldier come in, he introduced himself. Hello, I'm Victor, lovely to meet you. They wouldn't. He confronted them with humanity. As they were walking, he says, I have a 12-year-old son. Have you a son? The soldier wouldn't know what to do. He kept engaging them because he said the Jewish spirit is about non-judgment. It's about being me. And what he was showing the soldiers is, you can do what you like, but I'll do what I like. And you're not going to win. Because spirit can't be contained. Spirit can't be held back. And eventually he said, I knew the war was over when he was walking with a German soldier. And out of nowhere, the German soldier said, I have a son. He's 14. And I know your son died at 12. And I can't imagine your pain. He said, now I knew the war was over. Because humanity had hit their hearts. And if you look at the book, the Invictus poem that Mandela said every day, confined in a cell, he said, they can confine my spiritual body, my physical body, but they absolutely can't confine. And he reminded us, outside of this, I'm a father, I'm intelligent, I have a great life. And he constantly said, my spirit can't be, it's a great line, out of the night that covers me, black is the pitch from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. Beyond the fell of circumstance, looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid, because fear is a choice and I choose love every time. Viktor Frankl, in all the pain, chose to love the German soldiers. You're hate-filled, you're angry, but I'm not. So with all the athletes I work with, we have this mantra and we sing at the end of a training session and we say, I am not my environment, I am me. I am not my opposition, I am me. I am not the situation, I am me. I am not the competition, I am me. Bring me anywhere you want, I will be me. Put me in any ring, I will be me. Put me in any score, I will be me. Say what you want, I will be me. What an incredible thing. Be you. Because fundamentally, the human spirit, there is nothing more powerful. Whoever made this universe made everything. And then with one final thing, now that he or she had learned everything in the world, they said, I'm going to create the masterpiece. I'm going to create something more beautiful than the stars, more amazing than the oceans. And I'm going to make it in the image and likeness of me, with all of my divinity and all of my passion and all of my energy and all of my... I'm going to breathe every ounce of me into this, and they're going to become the biggest representation of my love and my amazingness. And they created humanity. And that's who we are. And who's anyone to say we're not? Every single one of us was born with an incredible ability to be infinite, to love with infinity, to be what you want to be. And who's to say you can't? So we are the universe. The universe is us. There is nothing in the universe that I haven't got in within me, because we're one. And you had that human spirit when you were 3, 4, 5, 6, when you came onto the football pitch first, when you were 5 and your nappy fell off and you didn't care, and you had a pot belly and you didn't care, and you just wanted to play and dance, and you saw yourself in the mirror and you couldn't look away because the person in the mirror inspired you, intrigued you. You loved that person. When you look in the mirror now for 60 seconds, do you see love? Does that person intrigue you? Does that person inspire you? Because if they don't, you can go out to all the gurus in the world that will give you all the brilliant answers. But if you can't inspire you, if you can't see the essence of the universe in your eyes, the infinite beauty, if you can't reconnect with that little child that just wanted to be loved and wanted to sing and wanted to express because they knew it was only 900 months. And what have we to lose? You come into the world with nothing, you leave with nothing. What have you to lose? And now that you know it's 900 months, what are you waiting for?
Gerry, when you're working with an Olympic boxer or someone in the corporate world, or a mom or whoever, any human being, having a human conversation about human things, and they are in a place where the fear is dominant and they just can't get traction to turn things around or make progress or whatever you want to say. How do you typically help them in that context?
I think it's perspective, and it goes back to that beautiful question, do you not know who you are? And for me, the greatest coaching ever happened between Mary and Jesus. And they say, and I was fascinated with Ed, great coaches tell people where to look, but they never tell them what to find. They never tell you what to do. And at the wedding of Cana, when Jesus was a child and from a poor family at this splendid thing, and they shouldn't even be there, and they all suffer that self-doubt, Jeez, I shouldn't even be here and I'm too young, what the hell am I at? Get me down. And then they run out, and Mary, who is like the coach, has this infinite ability to believe. Of course you can. He says, I can't. She says, of course you can. Oh no, I'm too young. And this is probably the single biggest question you can ask, and this is what we ask. But she turns to him and she says, do you not know who you are? And in the 33 years, she never told him. But regularly she would ask him, do you not know who you are? And it's no coincidence that the night before he died, when Pontius Pilate was saying, I don't want to put you to death. Oh, I think you're just a crazy man. You're daft, telling yourself you're God. What's wrong with you? Well, you just go out there, apologize to those people, tell them you're mad, and I'm going to let you go. He said, no. But you realize I'm going to put you to death. He said, you'll do what you have to do. That's okay. But I'll be me. And this conversation goes on. So eventually, take the easy way out. I won't take the easy way out. Deny who you are. I won't deny who I am. And eventually he says, I think you're crazy. And he said to him, that's who you say I am. But now I know who I am. the greatest thing the greatest gift a coach or a psychologist can give anybody is don't tell them who they are. Don't tell them what they can be. Unlock and empower through great questionings. And very often, I remember Michael Conlon, we told him, 18 months out, you tell everyone you're going to be world champion. If that's what you feel. But I don't know, Gerry, because you've always said focus on the process. Don't worry about me, Michael. Do you believe in your heart you're going to be world champion? Yeah, I know it. Well, then tell everybody. So he says, but then the night before, I'm with him, and the night before a world final can be, Irish boxing had never had a male world champion. Mike Conlon's still a young kid, It's very quiet, and he's getting a bit nervous, and he says, Gerry, do you think I'll do it? I don't know, I said, Michael. What? I said, I don't know.
You're telling me no.
Do you think I'll beat this fella? I don't know, because I don't know him. Jesus. Is he good? I don't know. And I looked at him. I said, are you nervous, Michael? I'm very nervous. I said, you waiting for me to say something, aren't you? Yeah, I needed something. He said, pep me up or something. So there's nothing else to say, Michael. I've told you everything I know. I don't know anything else. But I've told you everything I know, but I want to know what you know. And I used, because all my ideas are just robbed, and I used Mary's great question. I said, Michael, do you not know who you are? You're Michael Conlon. You've trained harder than everybody else. You're the most committed, passionate, funny, engaging human beings I know. I'd follow you off a cliff. So just make me one promise. When you go in that ring tomorrow, you'll just be Michael Conlon. And be Michael Conlon from the minute you wake up until the minute you fall asleep tomorrow night. Be Michael Conlon in abundance. And we'll see what happens. He looked at me. He put his hands out and he said, it's a deal. And that was it. So sometimes the coach is to slowly keep questioning, keep building that self of awareness, because at the end of the day, with 10 minutes before the biggest fight or the biggest competition, or 10 minutes in the dressing room before they go out, the coaches can't say anymore. The analysis can't say anymore. They have to sit there in silence. And if they don't know they're good, if they don't know that they're good enough at that point, forget about it. So that is the ultimate challenge of a psychologist or coach, is to allow them, by keep asking in different ways, do you not know who you are?
It's a great question. It's a great story. Gerry, I'm going to ask you to tell another story that we've chatted about before, which also involves boxing. And I think it's a fabulous story because it reveals a lot about your bravery. When you started out with the high performance group, as it was called, here in Robin, your story. Tell us when you visited that conference for the first time. Tell us.
Of course, when I got the job at the high performance boxing team, 2003 maybe, I only got it because probably no one else applied, because they couldn't afford to pay anybody. And in fairness, Gary Keegan saw a fellow with no skill, no experience, but he must have saw something in me, but he hired me anyway, so we got the job. And there was no great sports psychology in Ireland at that time. I had to kind of make it up as I was going along. But Ken Egan was kind of making things up as he went along as well, so we were in it together. But we were sent to this conference anyway. And we said we'd go because we didn't know how long the high performance program would last. So the chance of a night away in a hotel, and where's that? So why not? So we got, and some of the best sports psychologists in the world there, and they were talking about anxiety, how to control anxiety, how to deal with pressure, how to deal with. So we're sitting there and I'm looking at Ken, and Ken's looking at me, and we're listening. And we sat there for 5-6 hours, and all this great technique on anxiety and how to control breathing and how to deal with fear and how to embrace your fear and overcome fear, and how is the fear, anxiety. So in the middle of all that, I said to Kenny, why did you start boxing? I don't know, he says. But I was like, give me a reason. I just liked it. And when you box, how do you feel? Felt good, felt alive. And when you're winning, how does that make you feel? Best feeling in the world. So I wrote those down. And then any questions. Now, here was a boxer that no one heard of, and a psychologist that no one heard of, and like Jesus and Mary in the middle of... I said, Kenny, you're probably right, this won't last, so might as well, before we get thrown out, so I put my hand up. Yeah, I have a question. I said, I have a question. Is this a 2-day event? No, it's a one-day event. Okay, so it's over now. Yeah, it's over now. I looked at Kenny. Now Kenny's getting all red because like, oh Jesus. He knows there's something coming. So there's nothing on tomorrow? No. Oh yeah. And so, why? Well, I've sat here all day and what I've heard is fear, anxiety, stress, fear, anxiety, how to deal with more anxiety, more stress, and more fear. How to deal with pressure. But I asked Kenny, this is Kenny, and Kenny's like, oh. Now he's Kenneth now, he'd go mad if you called him Kenny.
Yeah,
I said, I've asked him how he feels when he's boxing. He said, passion, love, enjoyment, fun. Are we in the wrong conference or something? Because we thought sport was meant to be fun and exciting and make you come alive. And there was kind of silence. And then one said, well, you know, if you're at a major competition or you're at the Olympic Games, you know, 1.5 billion people watching you and it could be a lot of stress and there is a lot of anxiety in the Olympic Village. And I said, but surely that's just a matter of belief. That's just your subjective belief. If you go to the Olympic Games and you know you've trained, you know you're the best in the world, you're doing what you love, and you're willing to go and give it a good shot, where's the anxiety in that? And there was silence. And Kenny just hit me and he said, you got them now, host. And that's the story. The Olympic Games, you need to be prepared because it's this big animal that's going to upset you. It's not actually. I'm going to go with my teammates. And if you look at Michael Conlon and Paddy Barnes and Egan in 2008 when they were winning the medals, and look at the interviews. You know, Michael Conlon won Paddy Barnes won his first Olympic medal and walks up and the interviewer says, oh, you must be delighted, the youngest ever Irish man ever to win an Olympic medal, it must be fantastic. And Michael says, well, it is actually because he was like a dog all week. Who was like a dog? Scooby-Doo. And starts we're all laughing. Because that's a kid having fun. That's like Aodan. He's at the Olympic Games, you know, and in that they said, but it's the biggest stage in the world. And what I said was, no, a boxing ring is 20 foot by 20 foot. And no matter where you go, it's 20 foot by 20 foot. So it's not the biggest stage in the world. It's actually the exact same stage as we box in every day. So what stage are you talking about? Or the people watching you? We're not fighting against, we've only one person in front of us. So it's same stage, one person, and what you're talking about. So it's perspective. But that's what we bred into the boxers. And it goes back to the neuroscience behind it. When a person's having fun, when they're laughing, their brain is full of oxytocin. Oxytocin is the most powerful high-performance drug. It makes creativity, decision-making, innovation, makes you play, laugh. When you're first going through the birth canal, you got a dose of oxytocin and accelerates motor skills, learning, development, creativity. And the other thing you feel yourself is dopamine. So we absolutely made sure that our boxers were having fun all the time, laughing regularly, would hug each other. We would hug each other at the end of every training session because a hug is so important. From a neuroscience point of view, from a brain chemical point of view, when you feel loved, when you feel like someone really loves you, your system floods with high performance drugs. So it's for me, it was so simple. Get these guys fit, train them to the box, and then we'll go to this competition when everybody else is panicking because someone has filtered, and we'll just go, have good fun, flood ourselves with oxytocin, take nothing too serious, and we'll see what happens. 7 Olympic medals and 2 Olympic Games. Don't tell me having fun doesn't work. We overcomplicate because we tell ourselves stories that are full of fear. We spend our lives trying to avoid the pain. But it's like the golfer saying, you know, geez, I better watch that bunker. So if everyone close your eyes here for 1 second, I'm going to prove something. Just close your eyes for 1 second. Now, under no circumstances, do not, whatever you do, do not see a yellow triangle. Do not see a red box. And under no circumstance whatsoever, see Enda Kenny naked.
Apologies, whatever.
And yet we spend our day saying, oh geez, I hope the traffic's not too bad. Geez, the traffic was my worst nightmare. Worst nightmare. Geez, the weather's brutal bad. We're using words that are constantly flooding the subconscious with stress and anxiety, and I need to be. I have a big meeting. I say, how big is the meeting? How big is the room, like? Oh no, well, it's a big meeting. You don't understand. Well, how big is it, like? We create this cliff thinking. Well, if I don't get this done, the world's going to end. It's not actually. If you just listen, so listen to the words you use. They're either constantly trying to point out the negative there, or they're emotionally loaded, which is driving fear into the subconscious. And remember I said, like, the words you use become the house you live in. And if you took away one thing tonight, stop using the word but, because but is the biggest cop-out in the world. But actually means, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says, I'm about to say something that has no scientific basis, makes no sense whatsoever, but I don't want you to challenge me. I'd love to get up and go for a run in the morning, but the weather does be bad. I'd love to give up sugar, but I love it in a cup of tea. Instead of the word but, say and. I'd love to get up in the morning and go for a run and... Damn, it's a different now. Yeah. Because you trick your brain, you force your brain into a different part. When you say but, here's the excuse, I'll just grab now. When I say and, it's different. So from a neuroscience point of view, the words we use are so important. If you did nothing else, only clean up your language. Listen to the words you're using. Listen to people who constantly come home the van on a Friday evening and say, oh, geez, thank God it's Friday evening. It's only 2 days till Monday. Or say, oh, geez, it's a beautiful day out there. It's promised bad in the evening. Listen to Sky News. Listen to... So you need perspective. Because very often, your life and your world will end up very close to what you believed it would be. We are 3D printers. We're constantly manifesting the life that we think we should have. We're constantly manifesting into our life the things that we believe we should have. And ultimately, we manifest the life that we believe we deserve. And if I'm holding on to something in the past, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not slim enough, then you'll manifest that life that you think you deserve based on being not good enough. And I've come from that place. Hypercritical. And I train myself to go to bed every night and say, I am a deeply loving human being. That's all. And then I kept building it on. I am a deeply loving human being that has the capacity to do good. And that's all I've ever wanted to be in life. Be a human being that is an expression of who he is. Be kind and do good. And if you can keep the measures of success to something that you can control, and eventually you get to a stage where you draw it out and you say, I am infinite, and I live with an abundance of spirit. And that you have to deconstruct people. Say, oh, it's easy for him to say that. Is it? Do you know me? Have you lived my life? Oh, well, that's a bit Americanized. Is it, actually? And the Bible doesn't make any sense. Why have you read it? Seek to understand 1,000 times before you seek to judge. Turn off the voice of cynicism. What if this makes sense? What if this would work? What actually, if you are an infinite spirit? Because you are an energetic spirit, and energy, as we know, can't be deconstructed. So you are infinite. And while your physical body will come to an end, your spirit won't. So in this 900 months, in this phase of your existence, because maybe we have many phases, what is it you'd want to do? Now that you know you've X amount of months left, if you deeply loved the person you saw in the mirror, what would you be brave enough to do? And one last little exercise, just close your eyes for a second. Sometimes we look for books and we look for gurus to give us the answer, but here's a nice little answer. I want you to imagine that everybody in this room has left. And it's nice and quiet. And now somebody comes in and you hear them coming in and you hear their feet. And instantly as they arrive in, you recognize who it is. It's your 7-year-old self. It's you when you're at your best in terms of confidence and happiness. And now they walk in and they sit down in front of you and they look you straight in the eyes. And they listen to the way you talk to yourself. They see the way you walk. They see the way you eat. They listen to the stories you're telling yourself. What's the piece of advice they give you? I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And that person who loves you more than anyone else in the human being and deeply cares for you is going to shout an important piece of advice to you. I want you to hear it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the most important voice you'll ever hear. If I deeply love myself, what would I do different? If I didn't care what people thought about me? If I wasn't worried about being compared? If I believed I couldn't fail? And if I know that nothing lasts forever anyway, and I've nothing to lose, what would I do? And why not try that?
One final question, Gerry, before we invite the audience to contribute. For you, what would be the ultimate realization of your potential as you see it?
I only live with one. I live with, I suppose, with one fear or one mark of success, and for me, it's that I would not become the fullest expression of the spirit that I was born with, because, like Ed said, I was born equally with parents who loved me, who did everything for me, and the only measures of success I will have in my life are: would my parents be proud of me? And how much kindness did I try to give away? And I try to be as kind, and the little doubter in the back of my head sometimes, I know my mother's very proud of me. I do live with a small little bit of a fear sometimes that my dad isn't as proud of me as I think. And that's what drives me. But, and I asked, at the age of 33, I asked my dad if he loved me, because I knew I had to find out. So, yeah, that's what keeps me going. And sometimes when I'm in a situation, what would love do? Or I'd ask myself, what would make my parents proud? What would make me proud? And I suppose that's to become the fullest expression of the amount of love that I've received in the world. The amount of love that my parents have given me, that I can take that in, use it wisely, and give every inch of it out. Because we don't own anything in life. To give it away again, and never be afraid to give away anything. So even my work, 30% of the work I do every year I do it for free, and 30% of the money I make I give it away. Never be afraid to give it away, because we don't own anything anyway. Once you start to think you own something, once you start to try grab something, it's a great lesson for kids. If a kid has €1 and they love it and they want to buy sweets, you say, give me that €1. And I do my niece and nephews all the time. Give me the €1. And they say, I really need it. And then, okay, they open the hand. Take the €1 out and quickly put a $5 in. There you go. If you're desperately trying to hang on to something in life, this is my job, this is my position, this is mine, this is my house, your hands are closed. The universe can't give you anything. And whatever you think you have, there's something bigger and better. So this non-attachment, never be afraid to give it away. So that's my measure, how much kindness I can give away in the very limited short time that I have.
Beautiful. Ladies and gents, Gerry Hussey.